Hello and welcome back to the Invest Podcast, Jack. We're back. It's been intermittent episodes, but that's the main thing. Jack, how have you been?
Mate, I've been good. I've been good. Obviously, we've been both very busy,
Hmm.
which explains the massive hiatus between episodes. But it's good to be back to record another one. And you came to me with a great idea, great topic, which we'll get into later. So yeah, man, it's great to be here. How are you going?
I'm good. I'm also somewhat busy. I'm getting into perhaps a routine shortly, but I did move to a new place and I'm back in New South Wales, so outside of Victoria. So that's a positive because then I can develop a routine and then a different kind of business will start, but with more stability perhaps. And that really, the fact that we have this hiatus between episodes really gave birth to today's topic, which is prioritization, how to prioritize. Like we all want to take on responsibility, but how do you prioritize that? And Jack, that's what we're going to do today. I'm excited for that because perhaps the members, and, the people out there who follow us along will see, I guess, why how we sort of organize ourselves and why we prioritize certain things. So before we do that, Jack, thing of the week. It's our structure. We always go, what do we do? Thing of the week, then our topic. So what's your new thing of the week?
Fantastic. Well, I've been doing this for quite a little bit since I've started working full time, and that is meal prepping. It's not a crazy idea or concept. I'm not bringing any new ideas. It's simply just saying I've been meal prepping. It's changed my life massively, and I would highly recommend it. It's very good. For me, it just happens to be every Monday night. I'll after work go to the supermarket and then cook away, and I'll cook my breakfast for the week or even two. I'll do a week or two in advance of breakfast. I'll do all my lunch and potentially even dinners for the week. So within an hour or two, you get all your meals done. I'll do
Mm.
a lot at one time, and I follow different meal prep recipes. But in my own opinion, I've kind of learned that you just do a big batch of everything and then just combine it however you want. You just cook foods that are versatile and healthy, such as your rice, your potato, your chicken, your beef, your fish, the main, the staples, and then you just combine it all however you want into containers, and then you're done. So it's been really great. I've really enjoyed that. I've learned a lot about cooking, and yeah, it's allowed me to prioritize my time better, and yeah, just make use of my time in the week. So that's what I've been doing, all the meal preps.
That's awesome. So I think everyone will acknowledge that it's such a great, powerful tool to not only time save, but I think some people obviously would say, "Oh, is that because Jack's dieting or whatever?" But really, Jack, it's not necessarily that focus, right? You're doing it more for routine and order. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's for time saving, but then also I find that convenient foods are generally less healthy. So it's not about a diet or anything of that nature. It's just
Yeah.
if I want, to have some pulled pork with a salad and some like rice and whatever, I can't
Mhm.
just get that. Like I have to make it. You know what I mean? Like I can't just go to Macca's and get and order that. You know what I mean? So it's expensive to eat out. So as well. So it's a financial thing for me too. So you
Mhm.
save a lot of money, and yeah, you get to eat good food, high quality food because you buy it and cook it yourself.
Mhm.
So yeah, man, it's not so much the diet; it's more just it's high quality food. It saves time and it saves money as well.
Yeah, and I think, Jack, so where would you get started if you had to, many people might find a barrier, right, to meal prep.
Mm.
Maybe it's like, what would you say to get started? Does it start with a list and ideas of recipes or just trying and experimenting?
I mean, definitely both. I think for me, it was just going on YouTube and searching meal prep. So
Hmm.
much better and easier to follow than like let's say a blog post on like a cooking website. You just go meal
Mm.
prep, done, and you just type keywords that you're interested in. Let's say you like, Asian style bowls, meal prep bowls. Maybe you like Mexican burritos. Maybe you want it to be quick and easy meal prep. Be specific with what you want. Find something that works for you. The first thing I do is I look at the ingredient list in the description and think, okay, do I want to eat this? Can I get this? And then you just follow along and cook it. And then eventually, once you get used to it, you can come up with your own ideas and then you can have more fun with it. And because you enjoy it, you actually look forward to it. And it's not a chore, it's more just something you enjoy and it allows you to get more time out of your week and more out of your dollar as well, because as we know, things are expensive. So, it's that's
Hmm.
where I would start, man. And is that something you would do? I know you've done some of that before. Um,
Yeah, I find myself doing it when I'm sort of in that work phase, and I have, and I will actually tonight is my night to do that. At least I at minimum do 3 meals of the week. I feel like that gives me a buffer because I do actually enjoy cooking when I get home. It's actually kind of like an outlet activity for me. So I'm not someone that
That's
comes home
great.
tired and just wants something. I will cook. But on the flip side, if I am trying to be healthy, I do find it much easier because, if I'm not prepared, if I don't have a meal, then I will be tempted to go out and just get some fast food or something like that. So that's really important. And yeah, I actually quite enjoy, I guess, prepping something that I know that I'm looking forward to. I know what I'm going to have, and it's there. If you're at work or whatever, and you're going to have it for lunch, and you can kind of look forward to it. So I think
Oh,
that's
absolutely.
really good.
Honestly, when I'm in the office and I come through with my containers, everyone's glancing over their monitors, looking at my
Hmm.
container. I'm like, mate, you want this, but you cannot have this. This is like, it's good, man. It's good to look forward to that. But it's a good point. What about yourself, man? What is your thing of the week, as of late?
Absolutely. So my thing of the week is I've just reevaluated, sounds weird, how I use my own social media. I have started to do like mini projects, and basically applying the principles of what we talked about here. And Jack and I both work for a company called Game Plan. And basically what my thing is that I tackle a certain task. This time it's playing basketball. I use sort of a framework to learn the skills, learn the rules, learn certain things, apply it by training, and then look at the outcomes. So that's my thing of the week, and it's been kind of a hobby, but also like really interesting to study something that it's not something I have a long history with or anything like that. Just something that I thought that's interesting. Why don't I apply this framework and see if it works? So perhaps I can share my learnings as we go. But yeah, that was my thing of the week.
It's great to see. I think, not many things in life are inherently evil. And I think something like social media, which can be labeled as very toxic, and this is an opinion, I think
Mm,
it can be very toxic, in a lot of
mm,
ways, but you can benefit out of it. You can actually use it in a positive way. So yeah, it definitely seems like you're doing that. And it's great to see, because obviously by the nature of it, you're sharing that because it's on social media. So it's good as well. I get to see that you're doing that. And it can be inspiring too. Like, maybe I should think about this as well. Am I using this the best way? So yeah, I mean, how has that been? Because you've kind of changed your relationship, you could say, with social media, or even just not even that, just the way you use it. How does that feel using it in a different way now?
100%, man. I feel like I'm documenting a process of something that we're going into prioritization. What I prioritize, which for me is I love coaching people. I love teaching people. I feel like my passion is helping through teaching and health, and kind of combining that to document how I tackle something. So we can apply this, Jack, to really anything, right? Like showing people and documenting that if they want to take up that new skill or that hobby or something, they just need a framework, right? So I'm going to use an example for you, Jack. Like, let's say you want to get better at playing soccer, right? I know you're playing futsal.
I probably would need to
Of
follow that, if I'm being honest with you. Yeah,
well,
one too many losses
you
in a row.
exactly. Well, then some people think, oh, it's too hard. Like, I'm not a professional. I've got other things in my life. Well, let's put a framework. Have you actually tried to break it down? What do you need to improve, right? From not only from the perspective of your strengths and weaknesses, but I guess like from what the literature out there, stories, studying athletes, what do they do, and then sort of putting together some sort of protocol or something to follow, and then trying to improve. So that's what I decided to do, and I just feels like it aligns more with me, and I'm not going to be the person that posts a photo in their weddings, like at a wedding, in a suit. That's not me. In front of the limo, saying started from the bottom, now I'm here. That's not me.
I could see you doing that though, but yeah, about taking the piss, not actually being serious.
Yeah, well, I love that line, but not necessarily that photo. Nothing wrong if anyone out there does take those photos. It's just not me. And that's the thing. It's just got to be authentic in your identity of what you want to put out there. And for me, yeah, I just want to document that. So, yeah, I think that's a perfect segue, like into prioritization, because how we use social media and if that's a priority to us can determine, perhaps a lot of the time we spend. So, Jack, I'm going to say for the members out there, Jack basically works 2 full-time jobs at minimum, right? And then you're still working out, still engaged in your relationships, and still able to, I guess, unwind and relax and function, right? So how do you go about prioritization, and when did the light bulb switch of that I actually need to start prioritizing?
Well, great question, man. And I appreciate the little intro about like, Jack's just the best and he works and he goes, that
It's
was
true.
very
You
kind.
work
No, it's
full time jobs. People don't
true.
understand. Like you actually work like full time jobs. Like yeah.
Yeah. No, it's true. It's true. Thank you, man. I appreciate that. Yeah, look, I mean, in terms of when I thought I need to prioritize, that's just something I've always done. That's just who I am. Like I am someone who needs a system. I need a process. I need a structure. So therefore, just by nature, I prioritize, because if you have a structure and a system, just by design of that process, you will have a prioritization. You don't just create a structure and say, okay, everything is the exact same. You put things in place. So that's always been a thing for me, because I'm someone who I need to know what's going on. I need to have control over my time and my life. So I've
Mhm.
always prioritized what I do. And, in terms of as of late and how I prioritize those things, I mean, you prioritize things based on what's important, but also on what you can and can't control as well. That's also important to know. Like, I might think that my health is more important to me than my job, but sometimes my job takes priority because I can't choose the fact that I have to go into the office, let's say 4 days in the week, and I can't go for a run or go to the gym instead, right? But
Mm.
in terms of prioritization, I always like to prioritize what is in my control. So, for example, okay, I, I finish work 5, get home at 6, between 6 p.m. and I'm in bed at 10 p.m. What do I do with those 4 hours? What's important to me? Do I need to unwind? I just unwind for 4 hours. Do I need to do it? How does it work? I mean, as an example, what I generally do is I will actually work out for an hour and then work as well for 2 hours and then shower and unwind for the last hour. That's how I do. That's how I have my life. Or really, it's more an hour and a half of working out, half an hour of relaxing, 2 hours of working. That's how I do my after work time. And it's prioritizing that way, because for me, working and actually prioritizing my health is more important to me than relaxing, for example, that you can spend on other days. So that's an example of how I do it, but also that just kind of, yeah, because it's an example, it exemplifies what's important to me. And I think the way you prioritize your life reflects what things you deem important in your life. So what about yourself in your life, Isaac? I mean, you have so many things going on at the moment. I mean, you're studying full time. I mean, your study isn't just a random degree. This is a very intensive, demanding thing that you do in addition to full-time work as well, and obviously prioritizing your health and all your projects. So how do you balance your life, and how do you prioritize the things that you do?
Yeah, I've really grappled with this, and Jack, like to reflect what you said, where you have a defined amount of time, and we need to be in control of it. I felt that at periods, in the past couple of years, I've actually lost control of my time, whereas because I haven't prioritized, I've kind of been trying to do too many things at once. So I guess I had to really pull back and think what aligns with who I am, right? So if I'm doing something, is this why am I doing it, right? If it's something that's taking up a large amount of time, why am I doing it? Let's say it's working a second job, right? Let's say you're working a second job. It's like, am I doing this because I need the money, or like, what truly am I doing this if it's detracting from so many other aspects, right? So I think it's working on that, and then finding a system, and this is what I want to lead into next. Of you know, what do we use to prioritize? What tools are out there? But I did want to say as well, I often hear, Jack, when you message someone, or someone asks you for something and you don't get back to them, it's like they forgot to reply or something. But it's just they just didn't prioritize replying, or they didn't prioritize what you're asking. And it's totally acceptable. I don't think people have to necessarily always apologize, right? I mean, if someone's asking you something important, then you should reply. But if you can't go out with your friends on Saturday night for a hangout, I mean, you should be able to balance your social life, but sometimes you won't be able to, right? It's just prioritizing. On Saturday night, I actually have to get this project done, right? And I think that's important. But let's go back to the tools, Jack. So what do you use actually practically to sort of map that out?
That's a great question. I'll use multiple tools. So for my professional work, I'll use Monday.com, which is a great
Mm-hmm.
website where basically it's kind of like a bit like a spreadsheet, but it has automations and you can schedule things and you can set reminders, and it's one of those workflow tools. So I'll use
Mm-hmm.
Monday.com. I'll also, for my personal life and then some of my other work, I'll also use Trello. Trello is a pretty common collaborative workspace tool, and that's just a way to manage my schedule as well. So I'll do that in addition to calendars and things. So I use a lot. I know that you're a big fan of the physical diary and notebook. So
Mm.
what's your experience like with that? Would you recommend that to people as well?
I personally actually, Jack, like I'll put it between like the macro and micro prioritization. Macro, I go Google Calendars because I feel like, and I know Monday.com and Trello, Trello's great as well. I've used Trello before. It allows you to see macro, what's down the line, what's coming. Like if I've got something, coming up like an assessment or maybe, a project that I'm working on, or we obviously do school presentations, things like that. That's a macro that I need to look ahead of. But micro, I love the paperback diary where you can sort of almost quadrant things and put them into like important and urgent that I need to get done today, important but not urgent, and then not important but it's kind of urgent, and then not important and not urgent. Like you can kind of put those quadrants
You
into
create
a
it as a
paperback
matrix
diary.
ultimately, and the
Yeah,
flexibility
exactly.
with a physical diary, you can't have that online. Like the pure flexibility of you, it's a blank canvas is excellent.
It's exactly right. So I find that those are some tools. I think it's great, Jack. You put to Monday.com and Trello because those things are really well integrated with the app. Same with Google Calendar. So it's always on you. Like if you forget your diary or something, that is a challenge. But for me, the first thing I wake up in the morning, I have a set routine, and looking at the diary and setting out what I need to get done um, is what I do very quickly. But I think as you said, Jack, like the calendar and using your calendar effectively is so important. So the next thing, Jack, I always think is if you want to take on responsibility, let's say you want to take on something, whether that's more work or something, and you've got to sort of restructure, I guess, what you're prioritizing. How do you go about that? Are you good at saying no? How do you feel in that regard?
I can't say no. So
Mm,
I say yes to everything. I always feel like, you know what, I can do this. I can manage it. And that's I think because I have the confidence to say that to myself because I know that I've pushed myself beyond what I'm capable of. So I know I can continue to do that. But then at what point is that too much? At what point is it
mm,
becomes toxic to my own health where I actually take on too much and I'm left with not much to, in terms of things that I want to do, because you say yes to everyone else and everything else. So,
mm,
I struggle to say no to those things, but if you're capable of taking new things on, I think you do it and you just find a way. Like I find that sometimes I just do it and then work it out after, which may not be great advice. In fact, it's not advice at all. I'm just sharing what I do, but I find you just don't know until you do it. And then from there
mm.
you can manage and you can reduce later. But if you had to take things on and actually plan it out and make time for it, then you just have to reduce the things that aren't as important. I think a lot of people, then this is a generalization, but I think a lot of people spend a lot of time on things that are not really congruent with things that they really enjoy or are good for them. I think you shouldn't really reduce time on things that are beneficial to you. Maybe it's your work or your social life or your hobbies, but actually reduce things that are negative. Maybe with the social media example, or that you're watching some more entertainment than you need. I would reduce those things. But what would you do, Isaac, if you had to take something on like right now? How would you do that? How would you find time for that?
Yeah, I've always had this difficult thing where I'm not afraid to say no, but I do also have in my own mind, I always have different ideas that I want to pursue and things. So when someone does ask me to take something on or I do have to restructure, always take like a solid, like, I'll get back to you. I started doing that, like giving myself a buffer zone to really think, because taking that on now might not be consequential right now, but let's say I have an increase in study that I need to do, or I have more work to do later on. I don't want to say yes now and then my situation changes. So I need to always think if this I have to take on, can I almost afford to do it with 1.5 that amount of time? That makes sense. So if it's like
Mm.
someone's like, can you do 2 hours of work? Or do I have at least 3 hours plus to spend on it, right?
Mm.
I always think like, do I have a buffer of time left over to take this on now? So that's something I've been really consciously doing. But also, I myself love to take on new things because it's exciting. Life is fast paced these days, and a lot of the things we do, Jack, yourself included, we're actually able to do from our laptop, our computer, from home, right? A lot of the
Mm.
work we do, outside of obviously our sort of day titles, we can do through it from our computer from home. So, it's very tempting to take it on, but then you may be affecting a large chunk of time that you didn't have available to you. So that's cool. But Jack, anything else to add to that?
No, I think that's a really good point. I think that having a buffer is a great practical little piece of advice, because we take things on thinking about the absolute value of that thing, not so much the augmented effect that will have on our lives. So for example, it might be, as you said, 2 hours of work, I have exactly 2 hours spare on this day, I will do that. But you forget that like there's other things associated with it, and it might not be like a prep or setup time, but it might just be the energy it requires, or having to go back to other commitments, or whatever it may be. I think that's a good thing to acknowledge when you actually organize things. And I should probably do that. I know I don't do enough of that. I'm the person where when someone says, can you do this thing for me? It's going to take 15 minutes. I look at my schedule and I see, I have a break between 2:45 and 3. I can do it then. And I try and Tetris my life in, and life is not Tetris, mate. It does not work like that. So you're right. I think giving ourselves a buffer in terms of the time when we put things into our lives, but also in terms of our response and what you said about saying, I'll get back to you, thinking about it properly, instead of saying, yeah, I can do it, no problem. And then later on, you're like, wow, I'm really out of my depth here. So that's a good point, man. I think it's good advice to everyone listening.
Yeah, and I think even as I said, like that I'll get back to you. If you feel like you're being pressured to take something on, and you even put that little one step back of let me check, you can also go back to people in your support network to ask them, how should I go about this? I don't really want to do this, but I'm being asked to, and I can't prioritize it. I just can't. I can't see myself doing it. Then you can get help. But if you just say yes off the cuff, that can be really challenging to go back and be like, actually, no, I don't want to do it. And if you do feel pressure, which sometimes we do, right? Someone really wants us to do something, and you see that energy, and you would do it if you had the time, but you just time poor to perhaps, or you don't prioritize it, as we've been saying. So that's an important step. So, all right, I'll get to the summary now. So
let's do it.
We had Jack's thing of the week, which was meal prepping, which we spoke about the balance between not necessarily for the purpose of diet or calories, but for just time management and I guess excitement too, to look forward to something. Mine was taking on, a new view of my social media and how I use it, and some of the projects I want to take on with that. And then we discussed prioritization. So we went through, I guess, our overall philosophy, the practical tools, the online platforms that Jack uses, me with the paperback, and then I guess the idea of, the value of time, and prioritization is almost synonymous with how you value your time. So that's all from me, Jack. Did I miss anything there?
No, that was an excellent summary. Really appreciate that. You're always very good at that. So thank you everyone for listening, and feel free to leave some more suggestions on things to discuss. Hopefully we'll be back sooner than last time with the next episode. But thank you all for listening, and we'll catch you in the next one.
Perfect.